that there'd be plenty of newspapers with plenty of different people controlling them, so that there's a variety of viewpoints, that there's a choice for the public.
Not hate crimes. Yeah, no, we're not.
And you shouldn't be trying to turn this into a subsequent media circus.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Wunderschönen guten Morgen. How are you, everyone? Hello.
Hello.
Came in a bit hot there. But how are you? Are you good? It's the depressing day, so I've got to try and lift the mood of my little hidey hole that I'm in.
Why is it depressing? What's wrong?
Oh, it's just coming into winter, mate. It's pale as hell all the time.
Yeah, that is
terribly
sad.
pale.
I am
Corona's
so
rising.
excited, Tom. This is going to be my first summer in like a year and a half.
Oh well,
I'm so
yeah, you're lucky,
excited.
no.
I've been pale and sickly looking for the past year. So sad.
Yeah, I remember the first time I did a European winter, and your skin goes paper thin, so you can see all your veins, and you look like some fish or something. I can't believe this. This is not how I'm meant to look, and I've never stopped looking like that.
Oh, well, I don't
Well-
look like
well,
that all the time.
Zeb is glowing.
He is
I can
glowing
only
right
imagine.
now.
What?
Yeah, you always glow. Glow with love.
Cut that one out.
No, leave it in. It's cute.
No, leave it in. I
It's cute.
insist.
It's cute.
Hello, welcome to Opheads. My name is Coward.
Oh, that's it? Okay. Hi, I'm Rachel.
Let's do that one more time.
Hello, welcome to Opheads. My name is Coward Thomas James Keith Hunter Huntington.
Hi, Coward. I'm Rachel.
Strasse 6, 109 Berlin. I'm home between the hours of all the time. Always home. My door's always unlocked.
My door's always open to a welcomed, wandering
Welcome fans.
stranger.
All of our fans come and knock. Do you remember when Mac DeMarco did that?
Yes,
And then
yes.
at the end of an album, he went, "What 105, blah blah way, New Jersey, come on." And then everyone was like, and then 2 days later, it was like, "Please stop coming to my house."
Yeah, why would you do that? That's so stupid.
Because he's a chill
Because
guy.
he's just too chill. He's too
It's
chill.
not that chill.
Hey
a
man, he's
very,
pretty chill.
very
I know
chill
like 8 people that have done MDMA with him.
Yeah, I know, which
There
is
you go, man.
ridiculous. Anyways,
Maybe
okay,
maybe
fine.
slap him on the ass, man.
Guys, we haven't even gotten to introducing Zeb yet. Like,
Ah, yeah, it's alright, that's
begin
fine.
again.
Oh yeah, well no, I'm Zeb. You can find me at 1 Avenue, West Hobart.
Zeb,
I'm home all the time.
Zeb, what's
I'm
your
not working at the
pin
moment.
code, Zeb?
what are you doing?
It's
Mine's
Guys, you're
Come on, you have to
crazy. Stop this.
Welcome to Opheads. Opheads is a podcast about, oh god, fucking hell, I don't know.
deconstructing the ways in which we consume and something news media.
Consume, absorb, and relay news media.
Well, I'm going to sum it up much better. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Opheads. Opheads is a podcast centered on deconstructing the ways in which we as individuals accept, approach, consume, and process news media,
News media.
and explores where our opinions and perspectives actually come from.
Where do they come from?
So today we're talking about the Test Kitchen YouTube
Bon
department
Appetit.
of the Bon Appetit magazine and all the scandals. So how much of, before we get into the scandal and what happened and what it is, how informed do you guys feel like you are on this subject?
Well, yeah, I feel like I started watching Bon Appetit like at some point last year, and it was mostly just Bradley Owen that I was watching, and I just thought it was real cute. I don't know, it was just an easy thing to watch, and I don't know, it seemed nice. That's all I really had ever thought about it. And then the scandal I thought was pretty foul. You know, I was happy that the dude was sacked, and I was like unsure of what was going to happen. I was pretty interested to see how it would go.
Yeah, well, I guess I didn't really know that much about Bon Appetit except for all of my friends in New York would always like hashtag their meals Bon Appetit, and I'm like, are you just telling me Bon Appetit? Like, what is this joke? And then I realized that it was this show that they all watched, and it was like a huge thing. And then I watched some Brad Leone with Zeb, but then I've heard about the scandal through a friend of mine, Claire. She told me because she's obsessed with Bon Appetit. And she was telling me about it. I was like, oh my goodness. And then I did a little bit of like, Instagram scrolling and just saw that it was shit. It was terrible. Like treating your POCs, that's really, really bad.
I had this very sort of explosive relationship with it because I never heard of it once. And then it was, when there's certain things I found during like the initial Corona quarantine this year that I got into like just hard, like, and Bon Appetit was one of the main ones. Like Bon Appetit's a magazine from New York. It's like a food magazine, and then they started YouTube series and kind of with like were making just pretty standard, shareable
they're
cooking
doing the,
videos,
like tasty rip-off things, like overhead camera.
Yeah, and then kind of like because they had some sort of colorful New York characters, started like getting the people more like the chefs more invested with their personality in the show, and it kind of blew up big time and had a whole huge following. It's like 3 or 4 pretty famous people, and then a couple of like sort of side characters. And like I think the main thing that came across from the show was like, especially with the fandom, which is that like, oh, they're like a very sweet family. That's of goofy kind of characters,
Yeah, it kind of feels like The Office at times.
That's what people always compare it to, which annoys me. Fandoms annoy me, but
yeah. We can all agree on that.
A lot of like the sort of white chefs tended to have their own shows and were paid more, and a lot of the people of color who were very integrally involved in the show and in the dynamics and talked to a lot about their expertise as chefs didn't have their own shows and were kind of these sort of background pop-in characters. And so that's kind of how it sort of worked, was like you would watch one episode, but they might talk to Zola, for example, for kind of like continually throughout the episode about how to actually do something, and she would have a lot of input into the show. But that's just how it felt, is like, oh, you've got these characters and there's some ensemble characters and they're all having fun with each other in the test kitchen, which is kind of their main office in like some amazing high-rise building in New York with some insane view of like Central Park.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
It's the new World Trade Center.
Yeah, that's nowhere near Central Park.
It looks over the that
it's not, okay.
real future shopping center that we went to.
Yeah, the big.
It's right next to the Statue of Liberty, and it's on the other side of it is the Brooklyn Bridge, and then there's a hot dog stand down the bottom.
I was going to get a job in that building. I was about to work there. Sadly, I did not get the job. But that's okay. We move on.
Yeah, so Adam Rappaport, the editor-in-chief, was wrapped up in this scandal. He was wearing brown face at like a costume party or something. He was dressed as like a Puerto Rican gangbanger or something. It was like these horrendous brown face photos. And it caused this big like implosion.
Because it happened right at the start of the BLM thing, didn't it?
Yeah, it was
I
like...
think BLM started after Bon Appetit, didn't it? Like the scandal? I guess it was all around the same time, yeah.
It kind of really tore the company apart because there was a lot of, like, it opened up a lot of dialogues about, like, beyond that, because he stepped down quite quickly, I think, and they released a kind of vague Instagram post. There was a lot of backlash about whether, like, he should leave, and it opened up a lot of dialogues for, like, like, mostly it seems like, from what I could understand at the time through Twitter and Reddit and stuff, like, Zola wasn't getting paid at all for appearances on the show, and she was quite like an integral character of the show, and she sort of opened up a lot of dialogues about like the way that people of color were being underpaid and underutilized and underrecognized, and a lot of like casual racism within the company, and so she left kind of quickly, and a lot of other people of color like left as well. That's mostly what I remember about the scandal of the time, but it was a huge thing.
Yeah,
I think that's all. I didn't really know that much, other than they were underpaying people of color, and I just kind of got really angry about that, and I think that's where my information just stopped.
And I think, like, obviously, like me being like a middle class white dude, it's like I have a different connection and a different kind of anger. But I think, from my perspective at least, it's like beyond just like how horrible it is and how it makes people feel. I think people upset because as well, beyond everything else, it's like they went off with this like they created this narrative of being this like fun family, and then in reality, there was a lot of awful shit going on behind the scenes and a lot of like confusion afterwards.
Well, yeah, I think it kind of just made me really angry because, well, you know, you're saying you're one thing and like you've got these great people that seem really lovely, but then it just made me question whether or not those great people were also in on the injustices that was going on, you know? Like I was kind of like, really like Brad Leone, like were you someone who perpetuated this? Like were you being racist behind closed doors? You know, it kind of created these ideas of like just being untrustworthy and that kind of situation.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I've been following it quite sort of like closely, but I mean, most of my opinions, like, you know, obviously this is the part of the show that's unresearched, so a lot of it's just going off kind of vibes of like what people have said on Reddit and Twitter and blah blah blah. But most of the people involved with the YouTube side came out pretty quickly and were like, yeah, we stand with Zola and you know it's awful. Not all of them left the company, and the company sort of went on this big hiatus for like, I think maybe like 4 or 5 months. I'm not sure. It was quite a long time. And they've just come back and they've started releasing videos again. Zola, who's kind of become increasingly more the figurehead and representative, she has her own show, a new show, which is very popular with like Binging with Babish, and it's getting millions of views. And they've started creating content again now after a long hiatus.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. I think Zeb and I saw something, which I guess we'll get into with the research, which kind of opened my mind up about like how they've handled the situation in terms of like, you know, obviously firing the CEO, Adam Rappaport, and like kind of taking matters seriously and kind of like, you know, trying to better the company and like not let the company be tarnished by this scandal.
And I think there was like, I mean, they made one, from what I've seen anyway, and you know, I've got to research it more, but they've made one small release that was mostly related to Adam Rappaport, but didn't really address the like, you know, inherent racism within the internal politics of the show. And they released this video that kind of, I don't really feel like addressed it enough. And it was like with the new kind of promoted people of color that they've hired to help, you know, reshape the company, which is really great. But it did feel a little like they danced around the issue a lot and they didn't really like include a lot of like accountability about like the inherent kind of racism within the company apart from Adam Rappaport. And even then, I don't really feel like the episode addressed it enough.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I thought that, I think on one hand it was cool seeing like, it was cool seeing the new editor Dawn and all like, but then I think that there's that side of it, and then there's also the acknowledgement of the all of the shit that still needs to happen, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like
facing forward it looks good, and then facing backwards it's still really bad.
Yeah, I think like, and this is just my personal opinion, I think it shouldn't be the POC's responsibility to address those issues. Like it wasn't like,
No,
I feel like in
not.
that video it shouldn't be on them to be like, we acknowledge this. But I think there definitely needs to be a statement made by the company as a whole to just be like, hey, we addressed that these were issues, but now on like a positive foot forward, we're using these POCs as a positive face for the company. Like this is like the fresh view of like what this is going to be about now, and like let that positivity shine through these POCs rather than like them having to be like, well, this wasn't even our problem, but we have to address it anyway, you know, kind of thing.
You know, to release the first video and without really, you know, talking at all about like the systemic issues, feels kind of like it's not obviously not on the new editor to explain that, but no one really did.
Yeah, I think that, so I guess like this episode I guess that we're kind of like just trying to aggregate the general response to all of this, would you say?
I think that by no means are we trying to work out whether or not it should be boycotted or not, let's say. I think we should definitely look at this. I'm going to go away. Maybe I should even do some private research just on like, what are some of the new systemic changes that they're making to like their staffing and the direction they're going to, because maybe it's important for me to kind of understand that, if instinctually I feel like it's not enough, then maybe I want to do some research to figure out what is actually going on.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to do some research in terms of figuring out, like, I guess similar to you, Tom, like, what are they doing? And then kind of the response people are having to that, and kind of seeing if there are levels of accountability that are being held to them, and if, like, people are responding to that in a positive way, or if people are responding that into, like, a negative kind of way.
Yeah, and I think, like, for people listening to this, obviously you're going to make up your own opinion, and that's important. But I think it's kind of like important that everyone has a clear idea of, like, maybe a clearer idea of what are the facts here, and then people can decide whatever they want,
Yeah. And yeah, I guess I'll just do the kind of, I'll try to figure out, like, kind of the history of BA and the video department, and then the conditions that kind of brought this whole thing falling down.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, guys, I'll see you next week.
All right, see you then.
See you in a week.
Bye.
Take it easy, guys. Okay, I'm going to stop recording now.
Hello, listeners. This week, Zeb read articles from the New York Times and Insider and explored the timeline of the scandal through Twitter posts, reposts of Instagram stories, and blogs hosted on the BA website. Coward listened to podcasts by The Sporkful and Bon Appétit, read Rachel Premack's articles for Business Insider, and other reporting from Vulture, Variety, and The Wrap. Rachel read press releases by Condé Nast and articles from the New York Times and Vulture, as well as Rachel Premack's article for Business Insider. For a full list of sources and more information, please head to www.cowardspace.com/opheads.
Too much.
I was thinking about, like, when I was, like, going through the research. Do you remember the Carlton United boycott?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
The great VB drought of 2015.
That was the first boycott that I actually think I was like, yeah, I'll do this boycott too. And I
'Cause
remember
we were drinking so much VB.
No,
at
it was
the time.
2016 because I was dating you when it happened.
that was the only time I ever, like, in Australia where I really drunk that much, I think. And then it hit. And then I remember
and you
you
and I just
saying,
got
you put it
really
really well,
into
like 6 months in, you were like, I really didn't think this was going to take this long.
Yeah.
But it worked, at the end of the day, like they rehired those workers.
They rehired those workers because of me and Zeb and Rachel.
Yeah. That was probably good. I remember getting a lot of acid reflux from all those VBs.
Yeah, no, it's not good. Whenever I go back to Australia and I drink some VB, I'm like, oh, I can't wait. And I have it, I'm like,
Yeah, I know. I always get that too.
I
I
always
still
thought,
like
I always
it.
thought I
I
didn't
still
like
like
beer.
it a
I just wasn't drinking very good beer. And then now, I still don't care about beer, but I like it more here because it's also. Like
So
10
are you
10
drinking again?
cents. It's every now and then. I haven't for a little while.
It makes
But
it
sort of
asking
on
a question like that
on
sounds
occasion,
like
on occasion I'll have a ciggy, on occasion I'll have a beer, but
yeah.
I don't
right.
I don't really get drunk so much. now.
Yeah. I'm not. Yeah, I wasn't trying to say like, are you off the wagon?
Every month or so, I get an alert on my alarm, and I go down and I get a big bottle of the cheapest liquor I can find, of Feffy, and I drink it on the U-Bahn, and I start punching whoever comes near me. I punch them straight away, and it just works for my sobriety that way. It's like the purge.
Yeah. The guilty conscience for the rest of the month will get you
Yeah,
through.
exactly. Yeah. How did you guys go with the research?
Good. I feel like there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to add into mine, but I think Zeb is probably going to cover it, so I had to kind of
Yeah, sure.
really take it back. It kind of ended up being more, how do I explain this? Yeah, like just more my opinion. Because I kind of just like
totally.
did a bunch of research and then how that made me feel, which is exactly, I guess, the podcast. But like it's just been a bit different.
No, for sure.
For
I
the
think
past
when
couple of episodes.
I think I realized like how when you're like, oh yeah, it's a company, and you think it's just the YouTubers, then you realize like, oh no, there's a lot of people, and it's all connected to a bigger company. It's connected to a bigger company.
Yeah, definitely had
Meryl
to kind of
Streep's
make
involved.
some decisions to like just ignore certain bits because it was going to get really
Yeah, it was
going to
get
Yeah,
really
yeah.
intense.
Yeah,
I was like,
exactly. You don't know. You don't want to know where you end up when you start looking
Yeah.
at the monies.
No, it just started making me really angry about Condé Nast. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I wanted to work for you guys. No,
It's Condé Nast. Like, there's a few things that I just realized. Like, I think everyone knows about like publishing in New York that I don't like. Like Anna Wintour. I was like, oh, she sounds kind of familiar, Anna Wintour. And then everyone's like, yeah, it's Meryl Streep. It's the Devil
Yeah,
Wears
yeah,
Prada.
from
Yeah.
The Devil Wears Prada.
She's
yeah.
Vogue. Yeah,
Oh,
Condé
okay,
Nast
right.
owns Vogue.
Vogue. Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that the people from Bon Appetit, I read something, I can't remember who it was about, but like it referenced that they kind of answer to Anna
Yeah, they-
Wintour. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she sort of during like which we'll get into, but during some of the like more tense meetings, apparently she would just appear like a spectre in the corner of the room to say she haunts the halls.
Yeah, she sounds like an awful person.
She
Yeah,
is
she is an
racist,
awful. I'm
but-
pretty sure. I
Yeah.
don't know. I have nothing to back that up, but I think I've heard that.
Oh, well, the
somewhere.
content, just how awful the fashion industry is as a whole, and how
Yeah.
they fucking still just froth the worst people.
You know what I like? I like JJ's, man. When they put the
I
fucking
like
SpongeBob
JJ's,
on,
yeah.
man, bro.
Who
They
are
put
you and why are you
SpongeBob on a
reading my
fucking
shirt?
Come on, come on.
My
man.
lord.
Do you want to dive in, Zeb, to the stuff?
yeah, sure. Oh, well, I guess like what I'll be explaining is kind of broken up into 3 chunks, like their YouTube channel, Bon Appetit as a magazine, and then the controversy. Oh, and actually the people that they've just hired.
Sure.
So, Bon Appetit, as we were saying last time, started off as a magazine, started in 1959.
I didn't realize how big it was. It's huge, right? I had no idea.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, when I saw the, I didn't even realize how big Condé Nast was until I saw a photo of the building and I thought it was a fake picture of a building. I didn't even realize that was a real building in New York because it's fucking enormous.
Yeah, it's big.
And yeah, they're situated right in there. But yeah, so Condé, it's owned by Condé Nast, which is like a big media publishing company that started in I think 1909. The Mr. Condé Nast, I can't remember what his whole name was, bought Vogue and then kind of bought a whole bunch of different magazines and now they own Pitchfork, they own Wired, Bon Appetit, The New Yorker, GQ, they own Architecture Digest, yeah. I think at one point they owned Reddit. But
Really?
I can't really tell. I think it's one of those things where it's like such a huge corporation that it owns this, but
everything.
I've got no idea in what capacity or where it sits within that company because they also own Disney.
Condé Nast. No, they
Or,
don't.
no, but they've got something to do with Disney's home entertainment stuff. I was reading that amongst all of the Condé Nast, amongst all of the controversy that came from the Bon Appetit stuff and then kind of reverberated into Condé Nast.
I'm sure you get into it, but Agnes Chu, who's the new the head of entertainment, that just got replaced with someone from Disney. Agnes Chu,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that might have been what I was. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I
okay.
read about
who
that.
was
makes
who was the super duper Disney entertainment lady who brought in a bunch of cash for them or something.
Yeah, right. I didn't really I kind of started trying to understand and unravel Condé Nast and their part in the controversy, but I really, it was gonna make this whole thing go on forever. So I kind of just stuck to Bon Appetit. Bon Appetit started making videos. I think in 2012. 2012, yeah. And so their first, their earliest videos are just kind of cocktail tutorials and little recipe videos and kind of restaurant exposés, things like that. And they're all, they don't have a whole lot of kind of personality to them, that makes them distinct from anything else that was on YouTube at the time. I first I went through a bunch of the old videos and tried to find where people started popping up first. And I saw that the first person that I recognized was Adam Rappaport. And he had so he's the editor of he was the editor-in-chief that kind of triggered the whole thing and made it become such a kind of public explosion.
At the beginning, it was him and celebs. I think I can't remember. I think it was like some of the people. I think some of the girls from Broad City were in it or something like that, and it was some celebs.
Yeah. So yeah, I found a video from Ken Jeong, did a video about Thanksgiving, and another one with Abby and Alana from Broad City.
Yeah.
And I think that was when was that? That was in 2015, I think.
Oh, okay, really?
That was in 2016. So I think that like you can kind of see at the start of 2016, you can see them try to kind of start trying to find a bit of a personality and trying to be a bit more fun.
What were the videos with the celebs though? Like, were they recipe videos or?
No, the one with Ken Jeong was just him. It was him posing with a Thanksgiving dinner and talking about how comedians don't make jokes about Thanksgiving. Like, he was joking, but it was, I don't know, it was weird. It went for like 3 minutes and it was, it was strange. And then the Abby and Alana one was, the Broad City Girls was them like doing blind taste tests. And they're in the test kitchen, but there's no one else there, and it's just them.
I remember when I first started watching the test kitchen before I knew it was like some big thing. I was like, how did these group of like colorful hipsters get access to this very expensive looking kitchen? I can't believe it.
That is the baffling question.
Yeah. Well, I think it was all like very intentional because I think it was around that time in kind of mid 2016 where they decided to try to like. I think Brad Leone had been working there for a little while. I was reading. I think the way that he kind of like. He got a job there as like a dishwasher and then just kind of worked his way up to the test kitchen manager thing. And then I guess it was his personality that they figured they could turn into a show because the first official like test kitchen show was, It's Live with Brad Leone.
Oh, really? Right. That was the first one?
Yeah, and so that was in October of 2016. And so like a couple months after the Broad City Girls videos. And then from then on, that's where it started building itself as like that, like as the show that everyone
the fun
like.
hipster kooky family of personalities and yada yada.
Yeah, and I mean, like if you wanted to, you could go back and watch all those videos and see them kind of like find the formula that ended up working so well for them. But you can see that that's definitely where it started. Like it goes from being like sort of funny videos to like. Let's put a bunch of bloopers in here. Let's make it really like informal and kind of fun, and let Brad talk to the cameraman, all that kind of stuff. And he's making like miso or something like that. It's a fermentation thing.
Yeah. And I think what sort of bummed me out was not surprising. It didn't bum me out that much, I guess. But like how much of this like I sort of thought they just sort of let everyone go a bit wild. But it does seem like they had these sort of creepy like meetings about click rates and like they had the secret formula to like get click rates where they kind of like move people around to make sure that it was still very much under their control. Like it wasn't. I kind of had this idea that it was like just give the chef some cameras and just let them do whatever. But it's like it was really still they kept a very their corporate fingers were very like into the production.
Yeah, which I think kind of makes sense given that
it's a big company.
It's a Condé Nast thing, and they're a huge company. Yeah. I think that I don't know. There's like I was watching a video from Lindsay Ellis, who's like a YouTuber, and she was talking about like a cake channel that like a cake baking channel that I don't even know if this is worth including, but where they had like the cameraman. And like people on set kind of start commenting and creating this sort of like feeling of authenticity in their videos, and then all of these other people started doing the same thing. But like and she was talking about this like weird feeling when you watch all of these kind of clone videos, where it's like, what is so strange about all of these people just chiming in and kind of like making this such a fun little like get together.
Yeah.
And it's that they're mic'd. It's like, why has the cameraman got a mic on him? And why does the these people and like, but I think that like Bon Appetit was really good at making it feel very organic when
and chaotic.
Clearly it wasn't. When it really wasn't. Like of course it was kind of produced. I mean, like to a certain extent, it is still it's still their personalities and all of that kind of stuff. But like there are some very intentional decisions going on behind.
Exactly.
The scenes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's kind of it for the YouTube channel, but like for their kind of the history of their YouTube channel. But the I've got like a little timeline of the controversy. And so the way that went was on the 31st of May, which I guess was just a couple days, like a week after the George Floyd killing. Adam Rappaport wrote like a short article on the website in response to the George Floyd killing, saying that in the coming weeks, Bon Appetit will be posting stories focusing on like Black and Indigenous people of color within the food industry and spotlighting Black-owned businesses and you know.
And this is the food is always political thing, right?
Yeah, this is that post, yeah. And so there's a quote saying, "You'll see us tackling more of the racial and political issues at the core of the food world." And then he kind of ends the article by telling readers to donate to a bunch of, like the relevant organizations.
It was kind of just one of those ones that I think every big company did, where it's like we don't like racism. Like it was one of those very general. And
releases. Kind of an easy article to write, and
Yes, a performative allyship.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like at the core of this whole thing is the performative aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
So on the 4th of June, so 5 days later, this woman Ileana Masonette, a freelance Puerto Rican food writer, tweets at Bon Appetit saying that she pitched a story about Black Puerto Ricans who make these regional rice fritters. And the response was, and a quote from her tweet, "Sounds like a story that could have been told 5 years ago." And she says, "Bet if I pitched it today, they'd buy it. #solidarity my ass." And then a couple of days later, 2 days later, Masonette, she then posted a series of screenshots from a conversation she had with Adam Rappaport about the tweet, where he kind of both defends the action, defends the act of the blocking of the story, and sounds really apologetic, and he's got this real weird, knows how to talk the talk, but is also kind of just defending the shittiness of the way that her story got shot down. And then a couple of days before that, another food writer named Corsa Wilson tweets out saying, "This is so fucking empty. I personally know Black women and women of color who were gaslit, fired, and their ideas used by all of you." And then asking Rappaport what he's planning on doing about the kind of internal discrimination going on at Bon Appetit. And I think that was where it all the inner workings of the whole thing started to bubble up. So on the 8th of June, so another couple of days later, this freelance food writer named Tammy Tekla-Mariam, I think I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. She tweets, "I don't know why Adam Rappaport simply doesn't write about Puerto Rican food for Bon Appetit himself." And then, drops this photo of him and his wife, Simone Shubbock, who, did you know who she worked for Refinery 29? Was that?
No.
No, that was different.
That was a different person.
Yeah, she's also a
she's
food
a big
writer.
money person. Oh, is she a food writer, really?
Yeah, I can't remember. But, so it's a photo of the two of them in, brown face. They've got all this Puerto Rican gear on, or stereotypical Puerto Rican gear on. He's got a chain on. He's got a really thin mustache, and his skin is a lot darker. I don't know if it's that he painted it on or
he tried to weasel out of that later. I think though he was like, "No, I actually
I'm just
didn't,
that tan."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fuck off.
Because you see photos of him, he's fucking
He's white.
He's
white as
very
a
white.
ghost.
He's white as hell. Yeah, demonstrably. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's him and his wife. They both look and it's got the caption TBT. His wife Simone Shubbock posted it. TBT. Me and my puppy Adam Rappaport. #Boricua. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, which is the name for Puerto Ricans give themselves. And that blew up, and the world went crazy. I honestly think that if that tweet hadn't come out and that photo hadn't resurfaced, then
sure, it would have
the
just
whole
gone,
thing probably would have blown over. It would have been a
Yeah.
much smaller issue, and I don't think it would have had the same repercussions that it did.
No, definitely, because people were already kind of going relatively people were already complaining a lot about the racism within the his ex-assistant was really vocal about how racist the company was and how shit he was. And how
Yeah.
how naive do you have to be? Like, it's like, when these things get chased up, it's usually like, these scandals, like for, photos of blackface or whatever. It's usually like a really, really old post that they didn't delete yet. But she reposted it herself,
know.
just being like, oh, it just like shows you how.
Yeah, I know.
what a
Because it's one thing like
universe
if
do you live in?
you did pull up a photo, because the photo was taken in 2004. If you pulled
Yeah.
up a photo from 2004, within reason, maybe you could kind of like.
No. This is what I read, and I don't know if this is what is true, but it was a repost from 2013 of the post from 2004. Like, it
Yeah.
was a repost in 2013 that
Yeah,
she...
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so like the
She
photo was
didn't-
taken in 2004.
Oh, okay.
And if someone had pulled a photo from like MySpace or Flickr or something like that of them in 2004, then you could kind of maybe explain that away in just saying like it was like
Yeah,
it was 15
yeah.
years
a
ago.
long time ago, but it
Yeah.
was still
Yeah.
fuck
But then
off,
the fact
yeah.
that in 2013 she still thought it was cool enough to repost it is
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
Yeah.
And their friends were commenting shit on it like, I was
Yeah,
so
you fucking
scared
so
of you
scared that
night.
night.
Like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
my god, these
yeah,
fucking
it's
people.
Wait,
atrocious.
they were what? What?
Commenting on it saying like, yeah, like Lola was so afraid of you, like of you guys that night and all this.
Oh my
all
god!
these people,
Really?
a lot of blue check marks making who left some very provo comments like way back then.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
His like ex-assistant, like who was at the time she was like the only black employee of the whole company, said he used to do things like order his coffee, he'd say like she'd be like, do you want it black or white? He'd be like, let's say Rihanna. Like, he'd do things like this all the time, every fucking day.
No.
Yeah,
Ew.
right. That's terrible.
Oh my god.
Yeah, well, there's that footage of him asking Priya a question on a panel but calling her Sola, like the only other South Asian woman
Oh
in
my
on the panel.
god.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Like, you just called me Sola. I'm Priya.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
right, yeah, Priya.
Ugh.
Gross.
Should have been fired a long time ago.
Yeah. So, yeah, after that blew up, I think, like, then Sola came into became, like, the main voice from the inside of Bon Appetit. Saying, so she posted a whole series of things on her story saying, I'm going to read the whole thing, gonna read the whole thing. They read, I'm angry and disgusted by the photo of Rappaport in brownface. I've asked for his resignation. This is just a symptom of the systemic racism that runs rampant within Condé Nast as a whole. I've been at Bon Appetit for 10 months. I'm 35 years old and have over 15 years professional experience. I was hired as an assistant editor at $50K to assist mostly white editors with significantly less experience than me. I've been pushed in front of video as a display of diversity. In reality, currently only white editors are paid for their video appearances. None of the people of color have been compensated. I demand not only the resignation of Rappaport, but also to see BIPOC given fair titles, fair salaries, and compensation for their video appearances. Which was,
So well worded.
yeah,
of
fucking
course.
awesome.
But
Yeah,
she's great. Yeah, there was a lot of people beforehand. They were posting stuff, and I really like it because it really shows you, like, you could see their faces going a bit red. Because especially some of like the white stuff were like, yeah, maybe the BIPOC is an issue, but to me, it's the bro culture. And there was this big discourse going on about the bro culture within the company. And then when that came out, they all went quiet for a little bit and then came back out, like some of them did with solidarity with Zola, but not all, Well, actually, all of them at first, but yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, I feel like a handful of them tweeted out like a similar sort of like kind of mirrored Sola's stance against Rappaport and the same sort of demands that she was making. And then there was the Alex Lau, who was like an ex photographer for BA, posted a massive thread on Twitter, which I'm not gonna read out because it's really long, but we'll leave a link to it in the show notes. Just talking about his experience at working for Bon Appetit and like why he left. He was talking about but like there would be kind of pretty frequent talks about like fellowship training programs for people of color and all this kind of shit, and then there would never be any follow through at any, ever. It would just be like whenever the people of color working for Bon Appetit would bring it up, they'd have a meeting about it and talk about all of these things that they're going to do, and then would be silent on it from then on. Yeah, there was another thing where he mentions that he asked why there had been no African food ever put on the website, and he was met with the response of, the recipes get tricky and readers probably wouldn't want to make the food.
Yeah, well, there you go, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Even though
God.
even though, as Alex Lau points out, even though they've got, these cooks that go for like 16 hours on their website for just like European food that is insanely complicated and yeah. And so, yeah, he just talks about, like, how the few, like, the group of, like, BIPOC people working in BA were trying really hard to create a more inclusive system, like a more, like, inclusive outlet and, like, a less discriminatory system internally.
Mm-hmm.
And then, kind of ends the thread talking about how it's important to call out publications when you see that they're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And and then Alex Delaney, I only learned this just like I was just doing some like last minute research before we started recording, and I missed entirely Alex Delaney's controversy. His calling out.
he was sort of there was some shit with him, right?
Yeah, so he was the assistant web editor, and I think he had a show on Bon Appétit.
Yeah, he did. He had but I think he only did a few episodes, but it was kind of like, I'm gonna eat everything on the menu.
Everything. Yeah. And they would just like appear in a lot of other videos. But yeah, so there was a photo came out of him, a cake that he'd made that was like had a Confederate flag decorated on it, which he baked when he was 17. So I mean,
It seems like from judging by kind of the more harsh critics of Bon Appetit that I could find on, like, there's one particular podcast and a couple of Reddit posts. Some people have kind of forgiven, maybe forgiven isn't the right word, but kind of like accepted that Delaney had a shitty past and did some dumb things, but like has kind of come out and like showed the work or whatever since then. I mean, there's obviously still a lot of people that are like, fuck Alex Delaney as well. But even the harsher critics that really like will never forgive Brad and etc. Are kind of like Delaney came out like, and before this whole thing blew up and was pretty like vocal about like Black Lives Matter and made big donations, and he's changed his ways or whatever. But yeah, right. Because I mean, like 17 years old.
And you're very
it was like pulled
susceptible.
from his Tumblr from 2010 or
and
something.
he's a bit of a fucking like he's a bit of a straight boy, like frat boy.
I don't necessarily trust him, but yeah, I don't know. And then there was also like there was a handful of like homophobic what was it? No, just like gross tweets about girls and women, and then some homophobic Vine or a Vine where he used a homophobic slur at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, he has apologized for all that stuff, but I think he is still working at Bon Appetit. I don't know in what capacity, but yeah, he's still there. So yeah, then like a handful of people resigned after that. You had like Priya Krishna, she resigned. Sola obviously resigned, and she's now working with Binging with Babish. Got a show with Babish. Rick Martinez, and then there was a bunch of other people who said that they wouldn't be appearing in BA's video content anymore, but I think still work for them.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
So that's like Molly Baz, Gabby.
No, she's gone.
No, she's just off the
still
video
there,
stuff.
yeah.
She's still.
I think it was only Zola and Priya
and Rick Martinez.
Rick Martinez left there. Yeah. Okay.
That actually left and resigned.
And Claire, yeah.
But Claire didn't resign. Claire's contract had already ended, so she just left in
wasn't
time.
She just didn't come back. I think
But that was still like it was in the same for the same reason as everybody else.
No. She had already planned to not come back before
really?
all of it happened. Yeah. Her contract ended in May. And so she was like, yeah, I've got other plans.
Right.
She had a kind of like
and...
she had a special contract because it seems like I can't think it couldn't be motivated by anything else apart from like getting more money. But she left and then came back as a freelancer, so she was on a different contract. She didn't have one like the other YouTube stars had.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So she had more freedom in leaving. And I think there's a whole bunch of stuff that like I have some information on with like contracts and blah 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 and how it works. But I think like for a lot of them some of them like after the contract negotiations came back and like the sort of block of like the POCs that were trying to go for a higher contract and all the white people said like, yeah, we're sticking with you, and then kind of some of them did, some of them didn't, and most of them stayed at the magazine. But it seems like most of the POC block are kind of like, yeah, fair enough. I don't know. Actually, maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know what they're thinking, but they don't seem to be so vocally against them staying at the magazine, at least.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, I guess, but you can't really. I think if they just started kind of attacking their colleagues for deciding to stay, it's kind of taking away from the whole point of, like, attacking the system rather than.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Zola
Yeah.